So with the topic at hand that we're going to be talking about, I thought it would be fun to just read an excerpt from the Night City Guidebook, published by Mike Pondsmith's company in 1991, The Combat Zone. Every modern American city has one. Night City is no exception. A burned-out sprawl of tenements, abandoned factories, boarded-up offices, and trashed shopping malls, occupied only by the desperate, the devious, and the dead. During the light of day, the zone sleeps under its industrial-strength pall of smog. But at night, the zone comes alive, for it is only then that its most feared residents venture out of their sweltering sewer holes and rat-infested hovels to howl and prowl. On the morning of Monday, August 16th, CD Projekt Red published a write-up detailing some changes that players can expect out of patch 1.3 for Cyberpunk 2077. This would be the first major, chunky patch that the game has received since April and patch 1.2, and the blog post goes into three arguably major changes that the game is going to receive, as well as the announcement that 3 community managers and 2 developers on Cyberpunk will be doing a live stream at noon Eastern Time on Tuesday, August 17th, talking about what players can expect out of 1.3, some information on the first batch of free DLC, and possibly more. Fine. Unfortunately, out of the 3 major changes that CD Projekt Red thought important enough to detail in this blog post, only one really felt important. I recently made a video detailing all of the problems that I personally see out of Cyberpunk 2077, and unfortunately, of these 3 issues that were fixed on the blog post, only one of them were mentioned in that video, related to the minimap. The minimap is getting a dynamically zoomed system. If a player gets into a car and drives fast, the speed at which the player is moving dynamically changes the speed at which the minimap is zooming out. This is an impressive change, seeing as modders have not been able to create a system that works this well without causing some of the minimap flashing problems that we've discussed in the past. Allowing the minimap to work in the way that they have been demonstrating does require almost rewriting the entirety of the minimap system in general. So that is a hugely welcome change. It is the other 2 changes that do kind of raise my eyebrows and make me question if this patch really is going to fundamentally change some of the world streaming and AI systems that we have been waiting for, if they're spending so much time detailing, giving more information on which doll you're picking at Clouds, and also moving the respec station away from a purchasable item for Ripper Docs into the character HUD on the main menu screen. Now, obviously 1.3 is going to be much, much larger than that. The last main numbered patch we got was one of the largest patches I've ever seen for a video game in my life, and it still wasn't detailing all the changes that were made under the hood. That said, we have also been told that CD Projekt Red's community managers, Miles Tost and another person that I forgot the name of, excuse me, will be live streaming, taking questions from the community and talking about the free DLC and something more. That something more is likely the next generation patch, as we are nowhere near CD Projekt Red being comfortable to communicate about the expansion. It is a little disappointing that we're only learning about the first batch of free DLC, as CD Projekt Red is definitely running way behind schedule based on even their own timetable detailed in the latest version of the roadmap. However, the timing of this info dump is no accident. The release of almost every patch that Cyberpunk has received, give or take 1 or 2, has lined up with the board of CDP having to do something with the main investors. CD Projekt has investor calls, and those investor calls are publicly available on their investor relations website. They can be listened to. And the release of patch 1.23, which was the thing that allowed CD Projekt to meet certification to re-release on the PlayStation Store, came about around the same time as an investor call. Patch 1.2, which took place in April, again was released the day before an investor call. The next investor call is on August 29th, and from the outside looking in, the current state of CDPR is not good. People are leaving, the stocks continue to fall, and even though Cyberpunk had a good first month back on the PlayStation Store, it's no longer even in the top 20 in the following months. So CD Projekt probably has a lot to answer for on their investors. It is an open Q&A after the main CFO talks about the finances. So now we are actually getting this information so that when they're questioned about it at the investor meeting, they have answers. That's all well and good. That's fine. That's how a business operates. Whatever. Unfortunately, the issue is that the changes that they are already showing off don't seem to line up with the ideals of CD Projekt Red wanting to deliver a game over time that they originally promised, a la No Man's Sky. These changes are fairly small, and unfortunately, the players require an entire player AI, pedestrian AI, vehicle AI, police AI, rebalancing of the difficulty, and LOD loading changes within the whole world streaming system. None of those are being shown off here, and yes, they could be in the patch notes, but what worries me is that they tend to show off the biggest, more gameplay affecting changes in these N54 Night City reports. Now, it is known that CD Projekt Red is treating the next-gen patch of Cyberpunk as a relaunch. This has been stated multiple times throughout investor calls within the last few months. Now, obviously, we can't take absolutely everything seriously that is stated in investor calls.
There's nothing wrong with the Xbox or PS4 versions. There is no problem with the Xbox or PlayStation 4, to be honest.
They do seem to think that this next-gen patch is an entire relaunch of the game. I understand that the player base is on the last-gen consoles. However, if certain changes, such as the world streaming system working the way it should, the police AI system being revamped, the vehicle AI, the pedestrian AI requiring more horsepower, only the next-gen consoles can deliver, then just forget about the old gen, unfortunately, if you want to deliver the game that you previously promised. Recently, Anna Badinsky stepped down as the director of Cyberpunk and was replaced by a director of a Dragon Age game that within its expansions left out the previous generation of consoles in order to work on a much larger and more robust game. However, we really can't state surely what CD Projekt Red is going to do. We are apparently going to be getting more information on what we can expect out of patch 1.3 and future content releases for Cyberpunk, mostly from community managers on a live stream tomorrow at noon. I'll be there, we'll all be there, we'll just kind of hang out in the chat and see exactly what they're going to tell us. But for the meantime, this blog post worries me a little bit. I still love Cyberpunk, but unfortunately, I was really hoping that we would see, like, oh, look, it's the police warrant system. Oh, look, cars can drive around you now. Oh, look, buildings don't disappear when you're walking through Night City. We'll see what ends up happening with patch 1.3. They might be holding back a lot of the major changes for the next gen re-release, and hopefully the free DLC is meaty enough to kind of stave off the really angry articles that I'm sure Forbes is going to write about the game. Anyways, this is a temporary video. After all the information is truly out related to patch 1.3, this video will be deleted off the channel. But for the time being, thank you very much for watching. I'm Tyler McVicker. I hope you have a good day. Please get vaccinated if you can. Adios.